Welcome to episode 7 of the shoot 'em up that we're adapting from KidsCanCode into Monogame, Pygame and Love2D. We're just concentrating today on this section, part 9, which is to create some shields. So as before, we'll get on with showing you what the code does. Let's just move that into place. Right, so this is not in debug mode, so the sound is on, and as you can see, when I get hit by a meteor, the shield bar at the top left of the screen gradually disappears, and at the same time we're getting the sounds as we're being hit. So we've got sounds both from the bullets hitting the mobs and now with the mobs hitting the player, which is something I did only on the Love2D version last time. So I'll just play that again just so that you can see that. So watch the top left hand corner. So full shield bar, scores going up, and if I get hit, you'll hear the sound of me being hit, and when we eventually die, there's an explosion of me, and then when the explosion sound finishes, the game quits. So that's what we're aiming to do today. So first thing we need is to add a couple of extras to the class data in the main file here. So there's two things we're adding: a shield bar, which is an object, and die sound channel, which again is an object. We'll come back to that shortly as to what it actually does. So two extra things in the data class there. Now the main doesn't change at all. The loading in is much as before, except we've got a little extra line here which deals with drawing that shield bar. We'll come back to that shortly. So let's deal with the audio changes first, I think. So first thing we've done is in the load audio, I wanted to make it so that if the player got hit and we played this die sound, which is this one here, rumble.og, that we didn't actually disappear from the screen until that sound had finished playing. I'd already implemented that in the Love2D Lua version from an earlier one in the series, which you may or may not have noticed, but now we're going to implement it in both. So I needed to find out how I can work out whether this die sound here is still playing, and if it is, then don't quit the game until it's stopped. So this is how we do it. You have to set up a channel. So that's what I've put up here in the new things that we added in class data. We've got this die sound channel, and here is where we are implementing it. So we're setting this channel to one of the default 8 Pygame mixer channels which are available. If you need more, there's some comments here, you can add more, but I'm just making use of one channel. I decided not to allocate all of these sounds to their own channel. There wasn't really any much point in doing that. And what this does is it gives you a little bit more control over that sound. Rather than just stop, play and pause, you can find out whether it's finished and all sorts of things. So I've got this data die sound channel. I've made it equivalent to pygame.mixer.channel with capital C, and I've chosen 7. I don't think it matters which one, but I didn't increase the number of channels, so I thought I'll pick the last, assuming that they're numbered 0 to 7. I've picked the last default channel and set that up there. So that's the only change here. Now when we go to playing the sounds, when, for example, the bullets, when the mob collides with the player. What we can do here is we could have put sounds die play, but there's no way of detecting whether that sound is still playing, and so giving us an appropriate time to stop the game and set it to quit. So this is now set up to do that. So what happens is the following. We've got now a shield, which is if I go back to the player for a moment, we've got an additional couple of options in this player now. We've got this shield, which is set to 100, and a boolean value alive. So those are now set up in the player. So shield set to 100 and alive is true. So if we come back here, if there's a mob that hits the player down here, the shield value is decreased here by the level of the radius of the circle of the mob that hits it. So if you get hit by a big mob, it takes a bigger chunk out of your shield, which seems logical. So the shield is reduced by the circle radius of the mob. If the shield then becomes less than or equal to 0, in other words, you've lost your shield, you're now going to die, rather than just setting the game state to quit, we are playing this die sound, but instead of doing it using sounds die play, we're using this data die sound channel play, and then we're picking the sound that we want to play, sounds die. So this would work, of course, for any of the sounds that we wanted to play, but it was this specific one that I needed to be in control of. So when this updates, and the player shield is gone, it will start to play the die sound, which is that rumble.og, and at the same time it's going to set player alive as false. We've been hit, we're destroyed. I've put this break in to prevent it happening, less likely, but it could do, where you've got maybe two mobs in close proximity. The first one hits you, you don't set this to break so that it continues to check the mobs hitting the player, and of course we will get like a double effect. So I've just broken the loop. Once we've been hit, there's no need to check the rest of the mobs. In that case, we're breaking out of this for loop here. So the next frame comes round, and we come into this one using delta time as usual. So this runs every frame 60 times a second. Then we've got this new statement at the top here. If the player .alive is true, in other words, we're still going, we're still healthy, then we update as normal. If we're not alive, that means we've been hit, and theoretically we're getting the die sound playing. So this is how we detect whether that die sound is playing. We use the data die sound channel .getBusy, which you can't do directly on the sound. So you have to kind of put the sound effect onto a channel in order for you to detect whether or not it's actually working. Then if the die sound is not playing, then game state is set to quit and the game finishes. So that's how that one works, by kind of just playing a little bit with the sound, checking whether the sound has finished, and using the expiration of the die sound to tell us, okay, it's time to go, we're dead and gone, quit the game. So that's how this one works, by setting player alive equals false when we are hit by one mob. Okay, so that's that bit done. Now we need to come back to the shield itself. So as you could see, we've got this, let me just hit it once more for you so look again. We've got this green rectangle that drops down when we are hit. So that's what we want to draw. So as usual, it's better to do it in its own class. So we've checked the player class, we've added these two here, we're finished with that one, we don't need to do any more with that. Now the shield class, of course, brand new class. We only need to import Pygame and shared. What we're passing to the constructor here is basically the position that we want to draw this shield. What should we call it? It's a graphic that shows the state of the shield. So we're passing it the X and Y coordinates of where we want to draw it, then the colour of the line that we want to draw around the outside, and then the colour of the fill in the middle. So we've got these kind of constants set here, which is the bar length and bar height. Then we've got the line colour and fill colour, which take again parameters that we have supplied here, line colour, fill colour. Then we've got this self %, which has been shortened to PCC. So that's the kind of the percentage of the shield that's remaining. And then we've got two rectangles, one called outline rectangle, which is again as a Pygame rectangle starting at X and Y, which is set to the length of the bar and the height of the bar, which are these constants up here. So it's 100 pixels long and 10 high. Then we've got the fill rectangle, which is set to the same X and Y coordinates, the same bar length, and the same bar height. So they start off basically identical, I suppose, but what we could have done was to have just simply made self fill rect equal to self outline rect. Doesn't matter. But we've kind of specifically given each one here. So we've got these two identical rectangles at this stage. Now in the update function for the shield class here, we're passing to it the value of the shield. So it starts off at 100 when the player is brand new, and as the player gets hit, those values reduce. So if the value is below 0, then we set it to 0 so that we can't go into a negative situation here. The self % is that value, and then we're going to fill the fill rectangle is going to be drawn with the percentage over 100 of that bar length. So we're only going to fill that filling up rectangle with that amount. The draw function then draws two rectangles. The first one is the filled rectangle, which we have set up here with this fill rect width. So we draw the filled rectangle, then we draw the outline rectangle. But you'll notice here we've passed in the value 2, so this one here is a solid rectangle of whatever colour we supply it with, and this one here is the outline rectangle, which is just 2 pixels wide, so that draws over the top and gives you that border. So if we just play it once again just so you can see, oops, wrong one, go for the tutorial there. So here, white rectangle with the green in the centre. Anyway, that's I'm going to wait for that to keep going down. So when we call the shield class, we are going to both update it and draw it. So again, this is going to be running 60 frames a second. So let's go back to the main one here. So we've done the load bit. Now this is the update. So we are doing the update to the shield here by calling data.shieldBarUpdate. So we're going to update the shield bar with the value of the player shield, which we'd already looked at here. That's that value. So we're going to draw somewhere between 0 and 100% of the length of that bar. Then on the draw function, we're going to call the shield bar draw here, and that will fill that up. Now, what we haven't shown you so far is actually setting up this class, which I do in the load here. So we've loaded in our images, loaded the audio, we've set up the player, we've set up the mobs, we've set up the score, and now here's where we actually create the shield bar object. So we could have done it again with a static class, because we've only got one shield bar, it's constantly there, all we needed to do was update it, but I just kind of followed along with the previous, as I've already done some static classes with you, this is just using the standard class. So we do make one instance of the shield bar, and that stays there for the life of the program. So we're calling the shield.shield, which of course we have to import up here. So we're importing the shield now. Then we're passing these values. That's the x coordinate of 5, y coordinate of 5. Then I'm passing it two colours, shared white, which is what we'll be drawing the outside in, and shared green is what we'll be filling it in on the inside. So one thing I didn't really take into account was because the background is already dark, it probably doesn't show, but I think we can assume from this, as we're only drawing two rectangles, that the background will show through when the shield is not fully populated. So just to show you what I mean, at the moment it's fully green. I think what we're seeing through, yes we are, I can actually see the meteorite passing through the shield, so that really should be improved, but I'm just copying what was done in the original KidsCanCode tutorial. So that's something that you guys can do on your own, is to draw, in fact, not two rectangles but three, so that you've got the kind of background rectangle, which is maybe black, then you've got the fill rectangle, and then you've got the outline rectangle. So maybe three rectangles would have been better, but as I say, that's something that you can do for yourselves. It's relatively simple. So that's how the shield works. So that's the Pygame version, and we'll move on next time to the Love2D.